let's be honest with ourselves. Most people's wrestling watching careers goes like this. You fall in love with professional wrestling when you're a kid, then for some reason you take a break, then you fall doubly in love with it when you get involved in the behind the scenes because you can't quite believe how the world of sports entertainment works. Even when you do know all the tricks of the trade though, you're still just so intrigued by this stuff, which is the theme of today's video. Some people go crazy when you do this, but I'm not the person revealing these. These were revealed long ago by, if you can believe it, actual professional wrestlers. But my name is Simon Miller, welcome to What Culture Wrestling, and this is every WWE secret it tries and fails to hide. Number 10, the turning of the tables. The reason I say it like that is because if you were to turn a table upside down and said table was about to have a wrestler thrown through it, you may notice something interesting about it. A tried and tested safety technique in order to protect the athletes, which we should be doing from every single angle. What often happens with a wrestling table before somebody gets thrown through it is that the supports underneath are taking off, or even sometimes you just saw right through it. And yes, sure, you've heard the rhetoric of, well, if I go through a table, it will break my fall. And that is true, but why the hell wouldn't we go a few steps further to ensure that nobody actually gets hurt? I know we forget this in 2021, but that is the whole point. It's meant to be an illusion, but yes, that's what often happens with a pro wrestling table. Number 9, the banned list. I am sure you've seen this list doing the rounds before, but yes, a few years ago, somehow, the banned list that was written by Vincent Kennedy McMahon circulated around the internet and actually gave you a do's and don'ts about what you can and cannot say within his world of sports entertainment. And as we found out, you weren't allowed to say house show, you weren't allowed to say belt, you weren't allowed to say title shot. As we've already just touched upon, you had to call it sports entertainment as instead of pro wrestling. And Vince McMahon is a big fan of pronouns. So you don't say he did it, you say Stone Cold Steve Austin did it, because otherwise the audience may not have a clue. Another one we always have fun with is the fact that wrestlers, sports entertainers, don't go to hospital, they go to local medical facilities, and I assume they get driven there in a local medical facility wagon, although no one has ever told me that one for sure. And I get it, everyone's got their own bugbears when it comes to certain things, but on occasion, when you do make up your own dictionary and your own thesaurus and your own whatchamacallit, eventually things are going to feel a little bit fake because you've just produced them into happening. Number 8, thigh slaps. Of course, one of the behind the scenes tricks that has influenced today's video. You may have seen the news story recently that said WWE had gone to their talent and told them, you're not allowed to slap your leg anymore when doing a super kick or when doing a punch or doing whatever that you would be doing in order to make that kind of a noise. Now, I never had a problem with this because I grew up on Shawn Michaels, who would sweet chin music people for days and would always slap his leg. And there was a time there where Drew McIntyre wasn't doing it for the Claymore kick, and it actually felt weird without that kind of a noise. So I hope we just forget this and bring it back. I mean, who really flubbing cares? And of course, it all ties into the fact that the super kick has become a move that some people think is overdone. And while you can certainly sit on your high horse and say that, it doesn't mean you get rid of the thigh slapping. It means you tone down on the super kicks. Otherwise, it's just like shouting into the abyss. It just doesn't work. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, I saw the likes of Hulk Hogan or the Macho Man Randy Savage or Rowdy Roddy Piper stamping on the mat when they were doing punches, and I really don't see how this is any different. Number 7, the hand grip. Once again, tying into the fact that we have to protect wrestlers, because I swear in 2021 we all forget how dangerous wrestling can be. When somebody does take a terrifying bump, like being chucked from the top of a ladder through a wooden table, you have to have fail-safes built into the performance to ensure that said person isn't dead. And given the escalation of bumps has just got crazier as the years have gone by, usually what happens when somebody has taken a big tumble is that the referee will run up to a performer, they'll grab them by the hand, and if they feel a little bit of a squeeze, they know, oh, thank goodness, they're still alive, we can carry on with the match. So it's basically just a secret confirmation that they're not injured. And while cameras have picked up on this from time to time, actually, especially when it comes to WWE, they are quite good at hiding this one. Most people never even see it because you're too busy worrying about the person that just threw themselves off a barricade. Number 6, the X gesture. Another one that most fans are aware of simply because at some stage WWE built them into a storyline. If you do indeed somebody take a very particularly nasty looking bump in a ring and a referee does that with their hands, it is signaling to the people in the back, this did not go well, and I'm a bit worried this performer is injured. And like I say, today this has become a bit of a weird one because it does get built into narratives. So a referee can give the X symbol, is giving the real X symbol, but the powers that be watching in the monitors in the back are like, well, we know it's part of the story, even though it's not actually part of the story. So maybe we should never do this one again, and we should just leave it as a sign of fear. Number 5, eye contact with a referee. Now this one actually comes down to the individual, because most wrestlers after an earfall, they'll hear the 1, they'll hear the 2, and just before they're about to hear 3, they will get their shoulder up and they'll do it by instinct. Others, however, don't want to take the chance, so they open their eyes and they just look at the referee's hand. And of course, when you do see this, you already know that's not going to be the finish because the wrestler in question is doing it so the referee's hand can get as close to the mat as possible before they pop up a shoulder. I don't really think that anybody is trying to hide this one. If you have a camera and you're pointing at a pinfall, you're allowed to see whatever the hell you want to see. But it is just a fun thing to look out for, and when you do spot it, you'll feel like a massive nerd, and I know that because I do the same. Number 4, calling spots. We have Botchamania to thank for this one, but there are some wrestlers who couldn't give 2 hoots if any of the fans hear them calling moves, especially somebody like John Cena. Now, he used to get flamed online for this. I used to love it. He would just stand across the ring from his opponent and go, "Give me a clothesline." That guy would then run at him and give him a clothesline, and I felt like I was part of the special club. And really, this once again just comes down to who the hell is in the squared circle to begin with. Some people can do it like magic and you don't hear a peep coming out of their damn mouth, even though they're having full-blown conversations. And other people, yes, like I say, just blurt them out. But don't pretend you don't enjoy it. Of course you enjoy it. It's like, once again, you've been let into the magic circle. And that's where we all want to be. Once again, you can't blame WWE because they don't have an audio dump button they can press to just get rid of this. But make sure you keep an eye and an ear out for it. It's a treat every time. Number 3, Vince McMahon, voice of WWE. Adnan Virk was recently revealed as the brand new main play-by-play guy when it came to Monday Night Raw. And straight away, even though we didn't even give him a chance, the internet was saying, oh, he just sounds like everybody else. And I was like, of course, that's the way that Vince McMahon likes it. Because unless you've been living under a rock for the last 25 years, you can't help but have noticed or read on many wrestling news sites that Vince McMahon is the producer for his commentators and literally shouts into their headsets what he wants them to say. I mean, again, do you think anybody is coming out with local medical facility naturally? Of course they're not. They're doing it because their boss is telling them to do so. And look, it's his company. He's allowed to do whatever the hell he wants to do. But it is why you can bring in many different individuals to do this role, and they all kind of sound the same because really, they're just a front from the man in the back. I do hope that one day we go back to injecting a little bit of emotion and instinct into our commentary and announcing, because I just think it helps. But again, I'm not like a billionaire that runs a wrestling company. I'm just a bald idiot on YouTube. Number 2, giving a hand to hot tags. Another one I found out while listening to Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast years ago, because that was just a treasure trove for this kind of a thing. I never realized when somebody's about to give a hot tag, they're actually being given sign language as to when the time is right. Because if you are the babyface in peril and you look over at your tag team partner and they're reaching out their hand like this with their palm facing down, it means don't do it just yet. But then when they flip the hand, it means, hey, it's time to go. I want to run wild. I mean, that is just so genius and that is so clever. It should be a moment that we all take to give wrestling a round of applause because whoever came up with that should be given a flipping medal. It's also probably why the hot tag is one of the most overdone things in all of professional wrestling. Much like this little thingamajig, it just always works. Number 1, the entire thing. Because as we know in 2021, pro wrestling is not a legitimate sporting competition, or at least how we know it. And even back in the day when newspapers used to run stories about sports entertainment, and they would be all like, oh, you won't believe what happened. If you read between the lines, even they were going, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we know what's going on. And you still get jabronis coming up to you these days going, oh, don't you know it's all fake? As if you're gonna go, what? I can't believe it. What are you talking about? But that is the whole point. The fact that all these guys and girls and whoever knows who else can come together to create this wonderful make-believe land, well, it's my favorite thing in the world, and I will support it until the day I die. And let's face it, ever since WWE has got bigger and bigger and bigger, they don't try and hide it at all, and for my money, in many ways, that's made it even better still. Know of any other tricks that WWE tries to hide and fails at? Make sure you let us know in the comments below, and then like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com where you can read yourself some articles, follow What Culture on social media, and click a video around my head to stay on the channel. My name is Simon What Culture. Thank you for joining me as always. I'll see you on the next one.